Welcome to Popternative, where we dive into topical discussions from the worlds of pop culture, social media, and sports. Here is your host, Peter Remoliotis, aka PD Beats.
Hello and welcome to the Popternative Podcast. This is the podcast where digital discussions, the worlds of pop culture, sports, social media, and of course wrestling. This is our hashtag week of wrestling. 7 days, 7 wrestling interviews. I'm pleased to be joined from Toronto. He's also known as the Cynical Crafter. He's a professional wrestler. We're with RJ City. RJ, welcome to Popternative, man.
Hello. How am I looking at you? Should I be looking at you? Should I be looking at the camera?
Yeah.
Are people looking at me in my eyes?
You can look at me. You can look at the camera. I don't know. I mean,
this is a very meta system you've set up here.
Yeah, I apologize, but welcome to the show,
okay.
man.
Thank you for having me.
So right off the bat, you're kind of pretty unique in terms of what you do
Sure.
As a pro wrestler, because you're doing a lot that Cynical Crafter thing with CBC. You're doing a lot of different things. So when did you kind of decide that you want to be a pro wrestler, but doing all these other things, these vlog type stuff that you're doing? When did you decide you wanted to do that?
To me, it's the same level of idiocy. So I think I always wanted to do the same stuff. I view it as the same. So, the CBC thing is something that I fell into. I started talking to people there about very, very dumb ideas, and that one seemed to strike. And then we only made 3, and they did well, and now we're at 24 so far, which is quite an anthology of crafts.
Did you have fun making those snowballs? Was it a good time?
I usually have a horrible time because most of it, because we have a script, but then most of it is like improvised. And then, I don't know, you kind of want to make people laugh. So you say jokes, but nobody laughs because it's on set. So I'm playing to silence for an hour and a half. And then usually before the craft is done, I go, I hate this one. It's horrible. Let's never put it up. So I usually end up hating what I did, much as a cynical crafter would.
Absolutely.
So I think that's what keeps it authentic.
Mm-hmm. I keep it authentic here. I'm drinking. Apparently, so for our viewers that don't know, this is indeed is a teacup, and I'm drinking coffee out of it. And
yes, it's
my
a
fantastic guest.
Yes.
Said I was basically I've been like not doing it right for a while, I guess. So
well, a tea mug has a wider opening, so it can cool down quicker, and you want to keep the coffee hot, so a coffee mug should be smaller. But how do you take your coffee? Let's talk about coffee. Nobody wants to hear about wrestling. How do you take your coffee?
2 milk and sweetener. I'm a Splenda guy. A lot of people.
I'm sorry. If you're at home,
Yeah.
How much is 2 milk for you? How do you measure that?
I don't even know. I just like.
You get it to a color you like. You're
Yeah,
like, a nice creamy brown. That looks like it'll taste like something I'll like.
Yeah, I mean it's pretty. Yeah, it's a creamy brown. It's really nice.
Yeah.
No, I mean the coffee. I was expecting we were going to talk about wrestling. I guess we're talking about coffee.
No, we can talk about wrestling, but coffee. Everyone has coffee, and everyone will go, "Oh, this interests me. I can relate."
Hey, man,
to this.
Wrestling is the best form of entertainment on the planet. So don't
wrestling is like a violent 4th grade play. Wrestling is.
That's the greatest analogy I've ever heard. That is amazing.
And it's also like it's something you watch and you go, that would be much better if they had a chance to rehearse.
When did you decide that you wanted to be a pro wrestler? Was it did you like the theatrical aspect of it? Did you like in the ring? Like, when did you decide?
Well, both. I don't remember not wanting to.
Okay.
It was just something. It's not like I saw it and went, "Oh, that." It was just like it was always around, and it was pretty much that and the Muppet Show for me, which are pretty much the same thing, where it's a show and it's not a show, and like there's characters and there's different acts, and then sometimes they connect. So it's. I don't know if you know this. It's a very, very hard process to become a Muppet. It's much easier to be a professional wrestler, so I decided to take that route.
Oh man, Muppets and coffee on our week of wrestling. Who
Why
would
not?
have
You're gonna need
thought?
put this in the middle. Like if it's a Monday, Tuesday, put me at Wednesday because people are just gonna do the same. Wrestlers are like, "Oh, I've always wanted to do it. It's very tough." So you need like a little break. You ever do like a taste test, like a wine and cheese, and you have a cracker before you have the next?
Yeah.
I'm the cracker. I'm gonna reset the palate before the usual wrestling talk.
Yeah, it's true. Now that you think about it, the other ones, and there's nothing bad about it, but but they were all about wrestling, so it's cool that we have a little bit of variety. The only thing that was cool is when when I had Matt Taven on, we were talking about how people don't know how to pronounce or spell his name properly, and for some reason that R ends up coming in there from time to time. Like someone says Matt Tavern, which he's like, it's a mystery to him.
I've always said he had a great Jerry Lewis name. Because you could say Matt Taven like that, and it was very fine. No, but Matt Taven's cool. We traveled a lot together. We've roomed together. We've gone to a water park together, and he refused to take his sunglasses off in the water park. Oh, and wow. The guy was like, "Listen." So we were at the top of a water slide, and he was like, "Listen, man, like you got to take your asshole sunglasses off." And he was like, oh, okay. So what they did was he had to leave his sunglasses up there, go down the slide, and then walk back up and get them, and then walk back down. So it was a very humiliating experience for Matt, who probably thought he looked very cool.
Where did you meet Matt? Like on the wrestling circuits, but but where specifically?
Oh, I first met him in Florida, and we hit it off, as they say. And then we had a bunch of mutual friends. And then he started coming to a couple more shows in Toronto and then a couple more shows in IWC in Pittsburgh. Mm-hmm. It would be me, him, Colin Delaney. Are you familiar with Colin Delaney? And Dalton Castle.
Dalton Castle! So, and I wanted that, man. I've been wanting to get Dalton Castle on my show for a while because I just think that his gimmick right now is fantastic.
Yeah, he's a swell guy. So that was like the best car. Those cars were usually better than the shows we were on.
Oh man, the car rides. That's
talking about
life. Did you talk about coffee?
Talked about coffee and the Muppets most of the time.
But pro wrestling. It is a good all joking aside too, it's a good time to be a professional wrestler. It's a great time. There's like all over the globe. There's a variety of amazing wrestling shows. There's a lot of opportunities there. They're not.
Yes, I also think it's kind of always been both a good and bad time to be a professional wrestler, and any time in the world, because there are a lot of opportunities if you know where to look for them, but also like. If you ask someone on the street, if you ask your mailman what he knows about wrestling, he'll probably go like, that's still happening? Is it just, he probably knows Hulk Hogan and that's it. So I guess my job would be to make wrestling a little more digestible so I can spread it out so we can get outside of the bubble.
Mm-hmm. No, absolutely.
Because it's usually a bubble of, guys who have horribly misshapen goatees and black t-shirts, which I'm unfortunately wearing. So it's like we can get out of the system. Let's make it slightly more intelligent and see what happens.
You're all really, especially on social media, the pop culture seems to be a big part of, a lot of your tweets. There's a lot of referring to pop culture.
Yes.
Do you try to incorporate that into your so-called wrestling gimmicks or your in the ring and outside the ring? Is that like a big part of it for RJ City as well?
Yeah, I would not say I really have a character when I would say this is pretty much Tommy Dreamer said wrestling when I wrestle it's me with the volume turned down.
Wow.
It's just like totally me. It's not like this like I turn on and whatever. I usually have a grievance about how stupid the wrestling show is in general. And I don't like a lot of people, period. Just like whatever. Because sometimes when I envision stuff, like if I'm going to a restaurant or something, in my head, it'll just be me at the restaurant. And there'll never be anyone there. So when I get there and I see people sitting next to me, I go, I didn't envision you here. You're ruining my fantasy. God. So I let that come out. It's really a therapy for me at this point.
You're I haven't laughed. There's once in a while there's some like chuckles from my end on shows, but it's very rare that I gotta laugh 3 or 4 times out loud. I taped with Peter Kalamis, who's like a voice actor.
Yes.
And he did he did Goku from Dragon Ball Z, and he did the voice of Ralph from Ed, Ed and Eddie. And yes. I just I lost my mind. I laughed so hard on it. And it's one of those things where, what What I find cool too is, there's a lot of conventions. I thought this would be something cool to talk about. There's a lot of cons, a lot of conventions. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Comic cons, but also wrestling cons. Do you think that one day there's going to kind of be you see it a little bit, but do you think that it's important to still have the niche conventions, or do you kind of like the idea of these conventions that kind of have a little bit of everything? When you go to these conventions, they have like stuff for the comic book lovers, for the actors, for the wrestlers. What do you think about that?
It's weird because I think conventions in general are like no longer a niche thing.
Okay.
Like everyone knows about Comic-Con.
Well, I found out there's a Dragon. Peter's like, I'm going to Dragon Con. I'm like, there's a freaking Dragon Ball Z convention still.
Yeah, that's insane. So there's those bigger ones which are almost too big now. Like San Diego Comic-Con, it's just like, it's too big.
Yeah.
You have to wait in line for like 20 hours. Like, it's insane. So those niche ones are like, I think better if it's really what you're looking for. Like, we have the supporting cast of Three's Company just at this convention. And I'd be like, oh, well, that's where I'll be. That sounds amazing. There's a bunch of little ones like that where I'm like, yeah. I think they're better for specific tastes. It's almost like, TV channels and streaming services are niche now.
Yeah, no, for sure. Well, it's like, and the thing is, and I'm sure you're gonna have an interesting answer to this. Social media, digital media, all that, and I know, like, you're a cynical crafter, so you might have a very interesting opinion on this. Double-edged sword, because it's like, yeah, there's so much content out there, but it's like, oh yeah, there's so much content out there, right? So it's like, there's saturation. What does one outweigh the other for you in this double-edged sword, where it's like good and bad?
It's both good and bad. Sometimes I get upset that I have most of my content. I would say all of my content, except for wrestling, is essentially given away for free. Obviously I make money off it, but you don't pay directly for it. Like, especially my Twitter, like, that's all free content. So if you think about it from, like, I don't know, vaudeville, you could take all those jokes back in the day and put them into an act and do that, right?
Yeah.
But so it's good and bad. However, I'll probably, people have reached me and found out about me that wouldn't have done otherwise, mainly through that. So yes, like everything in life, it's good and bad. I defy you to find me something that is like all good.
No, absolutely. And I mean, I had Zach Ward, who played Scott Farkas in A Christmas Story on the show a couple weeks ago, and he was talking about how he's like, the accessibility is fantastic, but at the same time, the trolls just make it not worth it sometimes. And he just... Yeah,
but that's also like... people are always surprised that there are like trolls on the internet, but like go to a mall in your town and look around and you'll see everyone there and you'll go, yeah, okay, 85% of these people are probably assholes who make stupid comments.
On the internet.
In life.
Oh, in life. Okay, yeah.
So, like, why... people always underestimate, like, how many idiots are out there.
Yeah.
That's how things happen. Like, how did we vote for this guy? Or, like, how did these weird... You know what I mean? How did these weird things happen? Why do 1,000 people dislike this video? It's like, well, there's a lot of idiots out there.
Yeah. No. I hear you. But it's one of those things, too, where... I mean, live streaming is a really big thing right now. A lot of people are doing that. But a lot of people are going to kind of say like the free content aspect of things, right? Where people are just streaming online and, not going. And do you find though that like the amount of content available is making people not go to events as much anymore? Or do you see that too?
Do you mean wrestling wise?
Wrestling in general, like sporting events, like
specific to wrestling, I would say no, because being there live is just a much better experience.
I agree, 100%.
And I think it just gives access to people who couldn't be there. So someone in Virginia can be watching when I wrestle at a show in Buffalo, and they would not be going to that show.
Yeah.
So that's good. I also think content-wise, like, just because you put out content does not make it good, and it does not mean you should. Like, I wouldn't even call certain things content. Like, if you're just driving in your car and saying, like, I'm going to the mall and then I'm going to the gym, like, this is not, you're not doing anything to warrant the live stream.
Yeah, no, I hear you. I mean, I agree, but a lot, like, we've had a lot of, like, reality show contestants and stars on the show. Like, we've had people from Big Brother, The Bachelorette, A lot of those shows on the Challenge, which I think you'd be great on, by the way. MTV The Challenge.
Think I wouldn't. I always think about stuff like that, and I go, I don't think the producers would let me, because I already know that it's a scam. They would be like, we can't have this person in. He's going to try to take down the system from the inside.
It would be hilarious though to have you on Big Brother. Like I think that would be like I don't know. I with you on Big Brother, two things, no middle. Either you're out right away or you're the final two. Like you're not middle. There's no way.
I had this great plan. There was a reality show on MTV years ago called it was like That 70s Reality Show. So the whole thing, That 70s House, I think was the name of it.
Yes.
And the whole thing was that you had to be 70s, and if you said something like, "Oh, hand me my iPhone," they would kick you out. So that was the only reality show I ever wanted to be on, and my strategy would be, the only thing I would say would be, "Hey, yowza," all the time. And then that way, I'm foolproof.
Oh. But so, I brought that up because what you said about like going to the gym and everything, but that's all I see these reality show stars doing is posting about them going, but they're getting the views. That's why they continue to do it, right? Like they're getting the reason. It's like, if it, you know the term, like if it ain't broken, don't fix it, right? They're posting these like day-to-days, like, oh, I'm drinking tea and I'm going to go to the gym. People are watching it. If people didn't watch it, they wouldn't continue doing it.
Right. I also think just because people watch it doesn't necessarily make it good. People eat a lot of shitty food. It doesn't make the food good. A lot of people smoke. Clearly, that's not a good idea. So, like, just because that is essentially the problem with, like, it's not a problem, but it's the downside of democracy in technology. Mm-hmm. Is that, okay, everyone has a show? Great. That means 1,000% of these shows will not be very good.
Mm-hmm. I also find, too, that you're, I think one of the reasons why I think you have probably one, like, for wrestlers on social media, you're one of the strongest ones, is because you're not just tweeting about wrestling all the time. Like, when we really went on. But, so, I wanted your opinion on that. What do you think about wrestlers kind of just going on and just sharing wrestlers? Because I see it. There's some wrestlers, they just talk about and tweet about wrestling and their shows. That's
probably because they're one-dimensional individuals.
No, I understand that perspective, but it's one of those things where they have a personal account we don't know about, where they're not just tweeting about wrestling.
I'm telling you, they don't. I'm telling you, what you're seeing is totally what you're getting. And some people, and like, that's great. That's very nice for them. To me, I think it's even more important to be outside of the bubble and bring stuff in. So I think I get more ideas for wrestling from going to a library than I do from watching a wrestling match.
Mm-hmm. No,
you know
for sure.
I mean?
No, I do know what you mean. It's one of those things where, like I said, the double-edged sword. Do you also find that about being like the big thing about wrestling is the wow factors. Everyone wants the wow factors, whether it's something someone says while cutting a promo or doing a cool flippy cool thing in the ring. I mean, people love that stuff, right? Is that something that is that on the top of your list of like the reasons why you like being a pro wrestler? Obviously, getting like the reaction from the crowd is a huge thing, right?
Yeah, but I also, I like different reactions, and if you're smart enough and try different things, there's other ways to get to people. A lot of times with certain matches, it's like the crowd sits on their hands and then just goes, like wakes up, and then they go back to sleep. So it's like we're just waiting for the next move, and I'm like, there's like, better ways to tell a story. Like we could also make them sad and afraid or worried about, like, just try to do new stuff. So I would rather just do the let's try something new and see what happens, as opposed to trying something that we know works because it's been done before.
No, absolutely. No, very cool. Well, I think we will wrap up. But RJ, thank you so much for coming on the show, man. This was very refreshing and awesome.
Good. I'm happy that I could cleanse your palate in so many ways.
Yeah.
And I really pray that you get a new mug and you can enjoy coffee.
I mean, if you go past episodes, like, it's a different mug every time, and it's like, this is the only, like, one that's probably the tea. Like, I don't break the rules.
You don't have to be like, this just happened this one time. Just own it. You got the wrong mug, and you're gonna accept it.
Yeah, I know.
Everyone is watching.
I kind of felt sad before we started recording. I was like, man, like this is like the first time I've got called out by a guest.
Trying to help you.
No, I know, and I appreciate it.
I just want you to know that all my hatred for the world ultimately comes from a good place.
No, absolutely. Where can people follow you on social media, and what's next for RJ City?
I'm not even gonna. I'm beyond telling people where to follow me. Google RJ City. They should be able to figure it out.
You just want the SEO. You're so selfish.
Yes, all SEO. That's my new. Where people can find me, ESW in Buffalo, IWC in Pittsburgh, CBC, obviously, a bunch of places in Toronto, Destiny, Greektown, Superkicked. Yeah, more CBC. I'm making crafts. I think I have one. When does this go up?
Couple weeks.
Oh, no, we're going to do this. Oh, a couple weeks? Never mind. Don't worry about me. Just type in my name. And then read my tweets, mainly about B. Arthur and Don Knotts, because I'll be doing that regardless of what week it is.
Perfect. Well, all the best in 2018, RJ.
Thank you, and all the best to you, too.
Of course. Well, this has been Popternative, week of wrestling. Like I said, 7 episodes, 7 days, 7 wrestling interviews. You can catch previous episodes of our show, and you can subscribe on YouTube and on iTunes as well. Until next time, this is RJ City and PD Beats signing off.
Thank you for tuning in to Popternative. Make sure to check out our past episodes of Popternative on YouTube. Be sure to like Popternative on Facebook and follow us on Twitter.